Hey everybody, welcome back to Out of the Ordinary with Jay, and my interview guest today is
Matt.
And Matt, how old are you?
I am 50 years old.
50. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so half a century. And where are you from?
I am from Tempe, Arizona.
Okay, what do you think about our inner monologues?
Well, I don't know your inner monologue.
Oh boy. You just shared with me yours though. Okay, what do you think about your inner monologue?
It's
or people's inner monologues in general?
I actually learned recently from watching YouTube that
watch YouTube. You can learn stuff.
That there's a decent chunk of people that don't have an inner voice. Like they're thinking, but they don't think in English or whatever language they speak.
Okay.
And that blows my mind.
You mean you're saying some people don't have that extra voice that's like interrupting and coming up with ideas and stuff?
No, it's just not language based.
Oh.
Like they're just picturing like they're thinking about a bear. So they're just picturing a bear doing a thing, but they're not thinking that bear is digging through that trash.
It's not
that bear is attacking that deer.
It's less conversational.
Yeah, it's just like images and things. And like one of my favorite YouTubers who's incredibly smart, it's the guy that runs SciShow, apparently doesn't have an inner voice. Whereas like I feel like everything I'm thinking, even if I'm picturing something, I'm still narrating it somehow in my head.
Right.
And I can't imagine what that looks like to someone that doesn't do that.
So what about like situations when, I don't know, you're at lunch with somebody and the conversation is starting to peter off and your inner monologue says, this is boring, and it starts thinking of some song or something you have to do at work or something like, what do you think about that whole phenomena of the inner monologue? What is it? Like, what is that thing? Is it distracting to you? Is it beneficial?
It is distracting to me. One of my, I was talking about my procrastination. That's part of the ADHD I have, right? One of the things that there's two main things I struggle with my ADHD. One of them is the procrastination, which is known as executive function, is the broader thing. And the other is attention. And if I'm sitting here talking to you, you'd have to really be boring me for me to just lose what happened.
Right. And I'm interesting, so that's not going to happen.
But I do find when I'm in meetings, and I mean, I hate to advocate, making people go back to work, but it's even worse on phone meetings when there's not other people in the same room, that something will be being discussed that I should probably know about. It's interesting, but it's not what I'm working on. Nobody's going to ask me about it. And I'll be like, I don't know what anybody said for the last 60 seconds. I was actually thinking about work, but I was thinking about my project, which should have waited until this meeting was over. And my inner monologue took over.
Oh, I'll raise you one on that. On the meetings back when I was in certain jobs, there'd be some boring meeting and my inner monologue might start chirping up and then I'd be snoozing. So I was like, I get in trouble like all the time. But anyway, especially if it was an early morning meeting, oh, forget about it. But what is that though? Is that like our old lizard brain? Is that our subconscious chirping up at us? What is going on there? What is this thought generator that's not allowing us to breathe? The one thing that I'll say about inner monologues that I dislike is they're an interrupter to the present moment.
Yes.
Big time. And I don't like that because, and so but it's there in almost everybody. There's some purpose, some holdover from, or primitive. I don't know. What is it? Is it beneficial? I don't know. I guess it could be.
Is it a holdover, or is it just our brain short-circuiting because we didn't evolve to have anywhere near as much stimulus as modern humans have?
Wait, say that again? What do you mean by
that? Like when we evolved, we couldn't go faster than we could run, and mostly walk because you're not running all the time.
Right.
The scenery didn't change that often.
Right.
We didn't have books, much less smartphones and computers. There was just so much less going on.
Yeah, I agree with you. But on the
so is our brain just overstimulated on a daily basis to the point that it can't stop?
Yes. I think
just a thought. I don't
100%. Yes. I mean, in my opinion, but I do think that. But it is a little bit of a paradox there. On the one hand, you'd think with all this onslaught of stimulus, there'd be no need for inner monologue to even come into the scene. But instead, the moment that onslaught even subsides a little,
right
here it is again, to like feel like
it's like
it's sort of like
it's an overuse of the word, but like we're addicted to that constant
100% we're addicted to information. But I agree. It's almost like, and this goes along with ADHD too, in my view. I think they're same. It's like you have this bucket, call your brain a bucket, and just drowning it with water, and it just keeps overfilling. And that's information. That's why you can't. It's harder to focus.
Yep.
And that's some other thing I don't like about inner monologues, and other people have said this too, is it's harder to focus.
Absolutely.
You'd be trying to get a project done, and then all of a sudden, what sounds good for dinner is blah, blah, blah. And then you're lost in that. And then maybe like, the last time I had that dinner was with so-and-so. I wonder what they're doing. You're so far away from the present moment or what you're actually doing. I don't know.
The rabbit hole branches off into so many things. You can't even remember how you got there.
I know they talk a lot about like meditation and mindfulness, being able to like help with that. I've experimented with it, and
I've had it done through work, and I enjoyed it, but I don't think I really did it much outside of like the mindfulness bus is here. Let's all go sit on and do our thing.
Yeah. I've done it enough to say that it definitely can do some stuff. I can imagine if I got into like a real practice and a real routine, it would definitely probably help in that regard. But it's different. Anyway, it's just a weird phenomenon about the human condition. That's all.
And honestly, it wouldn't bother me if it was the more like typical way we think of it or you see in movies. Like I'm going to say you're in a college class and it's this art history class and you don't like art history.
Right.
So to you, like the teacher up there sounds like a Peanuts parent, just wah, 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 wah. And so, you start thinking about all this random stuff.
Right.
That I get. Like, it's hard to focus on something you don't care about. But to me, what's frustrating is people could be talking about something that should be at least somewhat interesting to me. And I still find it almost impossible to focus on the conversation if I am not directly involved.
Yeah. What makes me wonder, because, I'm always thinking that like humans are, we're built to adapt and do the best for ourselves, generally speaking. It makes me wonder if that's like a defect, this inner monologue, like it's no longer something that's useful, or if it is in fact being useful, if it's trying to like, if it's important. I don't know. Anyway, super interesting.
I mean, I love the fact, like, I could be sitting on a plane. Yeah, I might be uncomfortable and sick of sitting in the same place, but I'm generally not bored because I have enough inner monologue stuff to think about. So I like it in that way. But on the whole, I feel like it's a negative to me. Like, there's been a bunch of those meetings where I'm like, yeah, they're actually working on something I might need the next thing I work on.
Right.
And I would have liked to have known about that thing.
Yeah.
But because I started thinking about what I was having for lunch with Jason, I didn't listen to any of that. Right. And thinking about what I was having for lunch with you didn't actually benefit me. Right? Like, we could have still had that conversation when my meeting was over. We're still meeting up for lunch, whatever, that kind of thing. Like, that inner monologue had no real benefit. It was just a distraction from something that could have had a benefit.
Well, that's one of the things that I find the most off-putting about inner monologues in general is it feels like a loss of control. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, totally. Like I'm not driving right now and I want to be, and then this dude comes in and starts chirping, and now I'm off to that thing. I'm like, oh no, let's reel it back. You know what I mean? And that's kind of it's just an interesting, it's almost like
and you don't feel it when it starts. You're like, oh crap, 20 seconds have gone by. And the conversation that you were supposed to be listening to, you needed those 20 seconds to know how they got to where they're at now. So you've lost pretty much the whole conversation.
Yeah, and I don't know where the line is, and I don't even know if it's in the same like realm. I'm not a psychologist or anything, or psychiatrist or anything, but I do wonder like how far that line gets pushed, and then someone's bipolar, legit, or legit multiple personality. You know what I mean? Where you know what I mean? Where the two are, because your conflict. One's coming in like, oh, let's think about dinner. No, I got to focus on this meeting. You know what I mean? No, but I really want to figure out what I want to have for dinner. No, I need to focus on this meeting. There's only 10 more minutes, right? So it's like that's a 2-person conversation at least. It's super interesting.
It is. Anyway. I mean, it's not something that would manifest where an external person could see it.
No, but it doesn't matter to you.
You are dueling with yourself internally.
100%. Super interesting.
And losing.
Yes. There's a great...
And then you're like, crap, now I spent 60 seconds arguing with myself. So now I'm not even thinking about the thing I was thinking about or this meeting. just debating with myself why I have to keep debating with myself.
Yep.
I've actually had that happen multiple times where I sit there and think about the problems that my thinking about my problems is causing, and it's like this MC Escher infinite.
It's a loop. Yes, 100%. Well, and it reminds me, there's a great book, I've talked about it many times before, called The Happiness Trap by Russ Harris, and it's about a lot of it.
Why you like it?
It's like, yeah, right. But a lot of it's about mindfulness, and one of the things that they talk about is because that inner monologue can come in, and let's say it could be a sad event or an old thing. You start ruminating about something that made you angry or you were wrong 10 years ago, and now it's back at the fore, right?
Yep.
But the basic idea is through this work of, I'm using mindfulness in a generic way, but they've got some real tools that basically, it says you don't fuse with it. In other words, it comes in as a thought. You say, oh, hello, thought, and then you let it go, as opposed to, hello, thought, and then you decide, like, you get to decide, am I going to like hang on to this or let it go, right? And there's a lot of, it's a super interesting little exercise. I've tried it for a while. It's super interesting.
So it's an internal version of somebody that you don't like talking
like a
to, and feel
gatekeeper.
trapped in a conversation if you do talk to them. You don't make eye contact with them when you like walk past them to try to avoid that. You don't make eye contact with this intrusive thought and just let it go on.
Yeah, I think a good example of the way that would work would be like, I'm having a conversation with you right now, and you say some word, or you bring up some movie or something that reminds me of this guy that really screwed me over some way 10 years ago, and now I'm really angry. It's the practice of saying, okay, that thought has come into my mind. I don't know how it got there. Something stimulated it, or somehow it got there, and I say, okay, appreciate the thought, brain. Thank you for bringing it to my attention, but now's not the time. And then you move on. Or you say, oh, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Now is definitely the time. I need to focus on that. But you kind of become this gatekeeper of every thought that comes in. It's kind of an interesting tool. Anyway.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay, so.
I mean, the truth be told, when it is intrusive, like this has obviously been your scenario, been bothering you for 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to solve it right now, and you were in the middle of something else. So why do we sit there ruminating on something that if we haven't solved in the last 10 years, we're not going to solve in the next 2 minutes?
Well, and also that will make you angry all over again for no reason. Like, it's 10 years old. Like,
it's definitely the opposite of acceptance.
It's so weird. Yeah, I don't get that. Okay, do you get deja vu or any weird occurrences like that?
I've had deja vu a handful of times.
Okay, so
like I don't remember any specific example, but I know I felt deja vu, so I understand that weird feeling.
Okay.
It doesn't happen very often, and I don't think I've had it in months.
Okay, last question. Do you get deja vu or any weird occurrences? Sweet. Okay, thanks, guys.